welcome to Steps Gaming. We are here with two members currently of the Street Fighter online community on Facebook. Street Fighter Online face. Let's see, it's Fightcade and Arcade One Up currently, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, live streams.
Live streams, yes.
Yeah.
You live stream off the One Up Gnostic like almost. It seems like every day, right there on
It,
Facebook.
yeah, it used to be more, but I have other duties, so I've been streaming a little less, but I still try to stream what I can. I set up 5K, so I've been streaming a little of that also, but it's two platforms. It's exciting.
Okay. And who's your main and how long you been playing?
Main is Geef, playing since, I don't know, when did it first come out? Turbo on Super Nintendo. Never played in the arcade. Um, Only on Super Nintendo on pad. And with the arcade one up, I was able to play with stick and learn about modding, putting in buttons and springs and everything. So I learned a lot from that and improved my skills with Zangief. But I had to take a lot of losses just to get there, to actually get the red rank.
What kind
Yeah.
of controls are you using in your cabinet right now?
6 pound springs, a Sanwa JLX, and Sanwa buttons.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. And Turbo Annihilator, what's your story?
Well, to kind of piggyback off the questions you already said, I main Blanca. I play on Fightcade and also on real hardware. As far as my setups go, I've got a myriad of them, so I try and tinker around with the best of the Japanese, the American, and getting into some more of the Korean options that are out there with the crown levers and buttons and that kind of thing. Currently, my main setup that I run is Seimitsu Alutimo buttons and also the Nobi Bullet with modified gate from an LS40. So it's a square gate instead of the soft octagonal gates that are stock in those.
So is that a real authentic World Warrior cab right next to you?
It's a setup that I have kind of working on. I just got the Kanba desk today, the 2009. So I wanted to kind of put it through its paces and see where it was at as far as a solution for me to play Fightcade online. And right now I've got it running an original World Warrior board, and it's running through a Super Gun to an old Trinitron monitor, and it's playing pretty fantastic.
That's awesome. It almost looks like you're playing the real, the real original thing. Oh, you even got the lines going through there. Is that a CRT?
It is a CRT, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It kind of a little bit hardcore with it. I was trying to push the tech forward as far as getting Fightcade to run on as close to original hardware as possible. If you do play Hyperfighting on Fightcade 2, the version that is running, the speed has been modified to match my own personal hyperfighting board that I have here at the house. So we did a bunch of tests to try and get the speeds to line up. Hyperfighting is a very hard game to emulate and get everything right. Even with the original hardware, you'll find that there are speed differences depending on board revisions and even the age of the boards and the CPUs. So it's just been kind of a journey that I've been on since the very beginning of getting on to Fightcade and doing the hyperfighting thing competitively. It wasn't a viable option until Fightcade 2 came out. The original Fightcade ran hyperfighting at kind of ludicrous speeds, so it'd be like 10-star Super Nintendo type of thing. And then we all came from 30th Anniversary Edition on the PlayStation 4. After that kind of ran its course, and then Fightcade became a viable option for a lot of people, that's kind of where my lineage of the online thing kind of comes into play.
Now, Gnostic, you actually were trying to make a big point of this, that Godly's comment right here, during several of these streams. And, we finally got a little bit of answer, but I don't know if we have had enough answer on it. And so that's one of the reasons to do this stream, is to make sure that we speak about our experiences from, playing on Arcade 1-Up versus Fightcade and things like that, so that hopefully the problems with the Arcade 1-Up could be avoided when this iconic arcade version is released, as far as the online play is concerned.
Yeah, that's a big topic, because I actually been in conversation with quite a large group of different groups of people, just talking about the potential if this actually does well. The main problem that I've seen, because I was playing Arcade of 1-Up for 2-3 years straight, never tried Fightcade. No, Fightcade is the best option to match offline speeds. Basically, the issue is this input lag. The moment you press something, how fast do you see that character react? At the top levels, when you press it, it needs to be immediate, because at that level, one little screw up is the game. That's it. So if I press block, it has to react immediately. On 1-Up, there's a little delay, and that's a big issue for people that really care about the near arcade experience. Going to Fightcade, it's very minimal. It's a lot better than 1-Up. So I'm hoping that with this new arcade that John D is coming out with Media 1-Up, that emulation and the input lag is improved. And that's the biggest thing. If it is improved, and let's just say it's close to 5K levels, that'll be a huge deal. That's another thing too. We were discussing on a huge deal to who? Me, Jeff, and a few other people. To who? A huge deal to a small amount of buyers for the arcade. The vast majority buy for nostalgia. The arcade isn't just for competitive scene. It's for nostalgia. It's for having your house. That, I would say, represents, in my estimates, 70-80% of the buyer base. That 20% or 15% are the hardcore ones that want to be top 10, play every day. That crew is the one that actually drives the scene at the higher levels, where people at the 80% want to watch play. So if that 20% is satisfied and they invest into that, whatever, $700-800, and the top players can all get in on that, the more casual players will want to watch those competitions. Hey, there's a competition next week on Media 1-Up. This person versus that person. Oh, they're playing right now. Let's go on. Let's tell everyone on Facebook they're playing right. Let's go watch it. So I'm hoping that's improved. But like John said in in that stream with Kong, it's too early to tell. They don't have a final version. They don't. The UI isn't there, but we'll see. That the hope is that it is improved.
Yeah, so I'm hoping that so it's interesting, because like a lot of people buy the cabinet and they just want to look at it, or they just want to have it in their collection, and they may casually play. But like when I go on the Arcade 1-Up behind me, that big blue, I have a Yoga Flame PCV in it, but I get on there, and I have a Bobby Voo deck, and I play it, and all those players that are in there, they're always the ones that the lobbies are pretty full on the first page, at least still, which is amazing for the fact that their Arcade 1-Up lost the license and they're not making anymore. And people are still in there, still playing, even with as many people that abandoned it and went to Fightcade. And so when I watch those people play, a lot of them are red ranked, yellow ranked. They're serious players, and that kind of thing does matter, because it's going to drive the community. When people are getting involved and they start playing in a tournament, even if they suck and they lose in the first round, then they're going to watch the other players, and they're going to expect to see the top players play, and they want to see good matches. And those matches, people want good response time. And, yeah. And so, I was watching some matches on DJ Ilk's channel, I think last night. And that the match went down to the very last like sliver of health. So every second does matter. I totally see your point just by watching that game. So it's not just simply the fact that the hardware's powerful or not powerful. Because look at the Street Fighter Yoga Flame. That had more than enough power to run hyper fighting. It just did. Mm-hmm. And it still suffers from those problems because of the way that it's coded. At least that's my understanding of it.
Yeah, emulation coding is always going to be a pretty sticky issue. A lot of times with emulation, and especially doing multi-game platforms, such as the Arcade 1-Ups do, where they package a lot of games together into a single form factor for a variety of play. uh, you kind of have to come up with a one shoe fits all sort of solution. And that can be at a detriment to the gameplay of a specific game. Like I had said earlier, that hyperfighting is notoriously finicky. Um, when it comes to the emulation of that game, there are instances of things that people might not be aware of, such as frame skip that's built inside of the game. So if you're watching somebody play, just by the nature of the game being sped up on that original hardware, it skips frames to make it so that it plays faster. And if that isn't coded right when it's emulated, you can actually get input drops from those frame skips if they're tied together.
Yeah, I want to thank Papa Brad for gifting 5 Stepsgaming memberships. Thank you, Papa Brad. We appreciate the membership donation, and I'm glad that you're here. Um, Arcade 1-Up servers are peer to peer. Are peer to peer, no servers. Well, my question is, and it's a concern, so I'm just going to bring it up. Like, when John D went out and found the same manufacturer, Arcade 1-Up, to manufacture the shell of these new cabinets. So who's different that's doing the you know the net code and all that for this cabinet? Is it different? Is it the same? He mentioned that they learned from Marvel vs. Capcom 2. Marvel vs. Capcom 2 was a complete fiasco for Arcade 1-Up. That ran terrible. I you know the Street Fighter ran like superb compared to the Marvel Capcom 2.
That is a good point. Though when he did talk about Marvel's Capcom 2, he did mention it was underpowered. Like he just said it right after, which I guess is a defense. It's hard to really judge what the situation was because he was, from what I understand, limited by what Arcade 1-Up as a whole wanted to use as a board, for the PCB. So maybe he was limited and they did the best they could. I don't know, but a question for Turbo, actually. With the power of the RetroPie 5, do you think they could get past these issues with input lag, drops, emulation, speed issues? Because as I understand, the Fightcade version is pretty close to offline. Because the 1-Up version is very slow. It's about 10% slower than what Fightcade is.
And being slower is perfectly fine. Like if you can just have the inputs be correct and the overall nature of the gameplay be right, that's a great compromise to have. Because even on Fightcade, if you look at a game like Super Turbo, that runs at Turbo 1, and then when you're running in competitive circles and doing tournaments, you always play on Turbo 3. But it's so fast to play that online that your reactions and the ping involved in order to do that, it feels more natural to play the game at that Turbo 1 speed that's a little bit slower. So I don't have any problem with the game being slower. But to answer your question about, can they pull it off on that hardware? Absolutely. Fightcade runs on a potato if you really want it to. All you need is OpenGL3 and you're pretty much good to go. Like you don't even need the latest DirectX to play it or anything like that. So, what it really comes down to is the actual tactile experience of playing the game and then getting in there and getting the buttons to be responsive. Now, that's kind of a twofold problem. Like you can get the game to run really well, but if the actual Pi board has latency going in from the USB input or the interface from the buttons to there from bad polling, that could happen, then you're going to run into all kinds of kind of quirks and issues there as well.
I forgot to mention, Knock has shared a lot of his opinions in Knocktsukow. Anyways, shared a lot of his opinions in the Facebook group, and something happened. He couldn't be here right now, but I know that Knocktsukow is more excited for this new cabinet than anyone else in history. It seemed like I was just like, wow, this guy's really overjoyed with this, and
you know what it is too. we're happy with Fightcade. I've been playing just for a week so far, but we want to stand up and play. I want to stand up and play.
Mhm.
I want to feel like I'm in the arcade, standing up and playing. Fightcade is great, but I'm sitting down. I feel like, I'm playing on a Velix in Japan. I don't have, I'm used to just, I want that feeling of standing up. And this is what gives us the excitement, that there's a possibility here that, okay, they might deliver. If it's $800 and delivers, no problem, So we're just hoping on that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a very attractive package, I must say. Like, people have gripes about the side art, but like, what else are you going to put there? When the games originally came out, they were all stacked side by side, so you didn't even see that anyways. And it seems to me that like little things like that don't matter so much. I think aesthetically, it still kind of gives off the same vibe that the original dedicated cabinets did. And like you said, the standing up thing, I know a lot of people prefer that, especially when you go out to LA and then play at Bar 82 and do the big blue thing. That's kind of in the spirit and tradition of, the old arcade days. So to have that as part of your comfort level in playing the game is also very important as well.
Yeah. Oh, look who joined us. He's here. Hell yeah. Hell yeah, man.
My bad. California is still work hours and everything like that. So I was running a little late. I apologize.
I'm so glad you came. I was like, man, Jeff's all hyped up on this. Knocktsukow. He's like all hyped up about this cabinet. And I was like, if I got anybody that's going to at least be like the positive, I got Knock here, right? So we need to have a mixture of opinions. And
right.
So we're just started talking about, before we go back over to the side art and all of that other stuff, we'll talk about that. But we were talking about the importance of netcode while you weren't here, and the experiences that we had on the Arcade 1-Up versus Fightcade, and how important it is to do everything they can in testing to make sure that this stays a competitive product, so that the players like you, like yourself, Knock, who are very, very good at this game, continue to put on a show for those who want to spectate on the cabinet, spectate on streams, as well as people like you get to enjoy those awesome matches.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, first of all, I just want to say thanks for having me on this call, and I'm super excited, like the other folks, about this, Media 1-Up cab. I think it's important, obviously the cab caters to all the audience, but especially for some of the top players out there. Just like I was talking to some of these folks, that when you build a sports car, right, and you want to test that sports car up, you're gonna, let the professional drive that car and give you feedback and everything like that, So Arcade 1-Up is great, I think, for home arcade and everything, but there's a little bit of a lag factor that sort of get criticized a little bit by some of the top players like DJ, Tao, some of the guys that have bought the cab. So I'm hoping that this cab will really play as close as the real hardware, or if even Fightcade. I'll be super excited about it, because I'm looking to really take my talent to this new Media 1-Up cab and see what it's about,
What's the most important thing for this cab to do differently than the Arcade 1-Up?
Yeah, I think like Arcade 1-Up, especially Big Blue, for the folks that have that first generation cab. I mean, it's borderline unplayable, and we didn't know that at first, because that was the only thing that we ever played on. It's kind of like if you never had a good cheeseburger or a good steak, you think the supermarket steak would be the best you could ever get, But I think like the lag issue, where I'll give you an example, Steps. So with the Arcade 1-Up cab, whenever like a character like Zangief jumps in with a short kick, you almost cannot flash kick yourself out of it. I know it sounds crazy. So it's forced me to play the game a little differently, to sort of use like a different anti-air to stop those certain shenanigans. I'm just hoping that with this new cab, you're able to play the game the way it's supposed to play, and that's going to allow you to really get excited, play at your best, and allow other top players to come into this network to compete, such as some of those Fightcade guys, right? Like Choi Boy, Eggs and Bacon, Deep Focus, and Mega Man, and those guys. Because I think until they fix that issue, it's going to be very hard to kind of get those folks to come in and compete at this realm.
Yeah. Do you think that if it played closer to Fightcade, that there's going to be a lot more people from the community, the like possibly even the Fightcade community join?
Yes and no, and I love to hear feedback from Gnostic as well, because I think this machine is also catered to a very unique audience, right? Obviously, it's you're talking about $700, $600 for this machine. So I think 5K community has they're used to sort of the easy barriers of entry. 5K is free. You can play off your computer with a stick. This you need to pay like $500-700 to buy that machine. So there's a little bit of that I think the investment that they're going to be hesitant to sort of come into this realm. You know, it's a different audience that cater to. I mean, for me personally, it's not just the gaming side of it. It's having that arcade at home. I've always dreamt of having a home arcade where there's joystick, there's like the nice screen. People walk in, my cousins say, "Oh my God, you got an arcade, right?" There's a little bit of that as well, and I think a lot of players on 5K doesn't, they don't care about that. They just want to play. So, and it's free for them already. So hard for them to put that initial investment and transition to this network, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, Blood Tide was asking, did they mention there's rollback on these games? I
Uh,
I thought
that
they
that
did.
yeah, that is something that John D didn't mention, but there is rollback, but I don't know how they implemented it on One Up. But the Media One version, John D did mention in the last stream with Calm that his developers are experts on that, and they're working on that. But we don't know. It's still too early. There's no final build, so it's still too early. There is one question that someone did ask about Fightcade integration. Meatball Saucy, is Fightcade integration possible with this new machine? I would say yes, but it won't be done. The reason why is legal reasons. Fightcade is supposed to be free. They don't make any money from that, and that protects you, from what I understand, from legal ramifications. So with it being free, they are safe from that. If they integrate that into the machine and they're making money off of that, that becomes an issue. That's my understanding of it, and that's the consensus from people that have talked about it. So even though it could do it, I don't think it'll happen. For
You
Fightcade
could, well,
specifically.
somebody's gonna hack it.
Correct.
Yeah.
but it won't be advertised. Like, oh, this is
Yeah.
officially made for this.
Yeah, I think people want it to run out of the box well, though. I think that's ultimately what people want. I mean, for sure.
Yeah. At this point, it's like with all of the different iterations and them kind of, stagnating as far as the releases go with the arcade one-ups, it's like, I think that the majority of people that are looking to continue on their journey with collecting these types of things and getting into more of a prosumer type of thing with these cabinets kind of want the benefit of the upgrades that you would come to expect with hardware that gets released over time, right?
Yeah.
That's another thing too. I think ever since John D left, whatever situation happened over there, they've really had nothing since then. The only thing that I've seen is the claw machine and a photo machine. I don't know if you guys
yes,
are aware of that.
Jam
The photo
edition, I think.
machine.
Yeah.
And they re-advertised Fast and Furious again. I don't know how many people are excited about the Fast and Furious, driving the arcade, but I think letting whatever happened with John, him leaving and his connections with Capcom and everyone else really hurt the Arcade One Up brand. As we see it now, there's nothing coming out. What are they making? How many photo machines can you make? How many claw machines can you make? And going back to what Knock was saying about the 5K community coming over, I definitely agree that it won't be a large, some of them that do come over, even if it is better, because I think a lot of the 5K community has the mindset that you can always build one better for cheaper, and it's not really about nostalgia for a lot of the players over there. It's more about being competitive and the best setup possible in the lowest price possible, which is smart. But I would say 80% are more for nostalgia, having it, in the house, in the apartment, and but that's where the money is made, unfortunately. So we'll see what happens.
If I'm on Fightcade, I'm using a stick or a hitbox as blood type. Somebody asked about Fightcade, and people use all sorts of things on Fightcade. That's the one downside to Fightcade. Like some people like have macros and all sorts of things with their keyboard. There's a couple people playing keyboard. I know that much.
Yeah.
Yeah. And a lot of times you can tell who's using macros. There's a macro detection built into Fightcade, so you can suss out pretty much who's using that. And in general, we, at least in the hyperfighting community, we don't really have too many problems with people doing like right plus left inputs or anything like that. Uh, if you're playing competitively there, it's like the Terror Dome. You're just, I mean, if you need all of those things to get ahead, and you become kind of a known quantity. If you're not playing in actual live tournaments and like you show up and you're just not as good as you are online, then you're just gonna get called out on it. You know, it's kind
Right.
of how people get vetted that way.
It's interesting. I see Tira Duke in the chat. He uses pad on Fightcade.
Yep.
He's a very, very high level SD player. I think we're using DJ, if I'm correct. So for
Yes.
him to be that proficient and on a pad, it doesn't really matter how you play. You use a pad or a joystick, but most people prefer joystick, but some people excel in pad. So I guess Tira Dugan is one of those excels in pad even at the highest levels.
Mhm.
He'll play on both though. He'll play on arcade stick too, but I know he prefers pad. I played several times with him. Of course, he annihilates me, and he always will. But, but I'm sure he found a way to play with pad on the arcade one up too. I'm sure he's done that as well.
Right. No, but I'm actually super excited about the Media One Up cab that's coming out in June this summer because I think the cab looks awesome. I don't know about you guys from the aesthetic side of it. If you look at the sticker, the banner, the joystick, I'm sure there's better sound and everything like that. But then again, a lot of folks are thinking like, why would I kind of pay to play this where I could play free on Fightcade? But to me, it's about having that cab in the house. It's that decor. It's the fact that I've always dreamed of owning a arcade machine at a fraction of a cost, right? I think back in a brand new, even a used machine back in like $5,000-$7,000, you could own this for like, $500-$700 or so, and that's an awesome price, especially for folks like myself, Gnostic, even like Turbo, who grew up in the '90s, constantly going to arcade and spending a lot of money on quarters.
Yeah, it's a really attractive option, especially now that the collector's market for original examples have kind of made those original dynamos kind of skyrocket. My first arcade cabinet that I brought home was an HS1, so it's the same kind of setup that they have here. And I paid $450 for it, but it was like a whole lot of work to get it up and running and all of that. And for some people, that could be kind of a thing too, is to work on them and get the original examples up and running. But the majority of people, they're just looking for something that looks really nice and
Right.
gives them that nostalgia factor, like you're saying.
Correct.
Yeah. And as far as the way that it looks, I think that they did take a lot of consideration to get it to look as accurate as possible given their manufacturing needs, right?
Yeah.
So like, the first thing off the bat that people will probably look at and kind of think is a little bit weird about it is that the original dynamos, at least the ones that people remember, had the cut corner control panel, the metal one that stuck out a bit.
Hmm.
But even with the compromise they made there with the control panel being inside is actually accurate to the original HS system. When the dynamos came out in '89, they had that kind of stubby control panel because they didn't need to have 6 buttons that were extended out, right? So like,
Yeah.
games like Final Fight and all of the kit games that would go into these HS1s would have kind of that stubby control panel. The only thing that, just looking at it, I think that, using American sticks on a slant cab is always going to be kind of tough ergonomically because of the way that the joysticks themselves are designed. That there'll be a tendency to have dropped inputs when trying to jump, for instance, just because the control panel is not flat. So you kind of have a weird fulcrum point with that slant there. And that's something that we see in like the Discord, the hyperfighting Discord, a lot when people talk about these old calves. Is the slant on them. A lot of top
Yeah.
players don't prefer that.
Yeah, I think like yeah, I'm curious about the slant. I've heard about cabs maybe moving a little bit because of the Yoga Flame cab that I own as well as the Big Blue cab. So far, I have no issue those cabs moving at all, and those are actually smaller cabs and supposed to be lighter than these.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm curious like why it would move, and I love to test it myself.
Right. You have to consider that back when these were made too, they had the CRTs in them, so they're actually pretty center weighted, right? So the more that you get the height involved to get a more accurate kind of depiction of the original cabs, these are pretty much empty, so they don't have that center weight to kind of balance them out. I'd imagine
Right.
that they'd probably be a little bit top heavy and might be a little bit more prone to kind of wiggle and jiggle.
I'm gonna show a clip of Bobby playing Kong's R Us real quick, and then we can talk about it.
Round 2, fight!
Okay, so you can see it was wobbling. So you gotta be fair and call that out. Hey, it's wobbling, but that's kind of the nature of these arcade one-ups because it's built the same company that made the arcade one-up, the same factory's making these.
Mm-hmm.
So you look at it, and it looks like a sandbag's gonna help with this. You gotta have, I mean, is there a way that they could fix it without adding too much cost? Probably not, because it would add weight to the package. They're trying to get this at a under $1,000, way under $1,000, and so that's why these are designed the way they are. Because at first, when I saw it, I go, "Oh, I don't know if I like that. Why not make it heavier?" Well, the thing is, like, the cost on that's going to go way up.
Right.
Way up.
That's a great point you point out, Steps, because as much as we criticize that, hey, the cab is not as real as the hardware and everything like that, right? For them to really get into how the real hardware is, the size and panels, everything, you're talking about the cost going up another, like, I don't know, a couple thousand or whatsoever. They're trying to market this where it's appropriate for a middle class family to be able to purchase it, own it, have a great time. So I want to be like fair. I want to be critical, but I also want to be fair to the designer or the gaming company, that they can give you like the better parts, the Korean stick, whatever you want, the better monitor and everything. But all of a sudden the cost is going to get to a point where it's not marketable. And then you're complaining about like, I'm not going to pay $1,200. I'm not going to pay $1,500. So there's a little bit of that as well, So I'm actually pretty stoked. I thought the price range, I think the price range is pretty fair to be able to own one of these cabs at home for a fraction of the cost. So I'm super pumped. I just can't wait to try it.
Yeah. Which design do you like better?
Yeah, curious which design turbo. I already know which one I'm gonna order.
I think that the overall aesthetically, I think the Alpha kind of fits better. I like that design; it's very eye-catching. Me personally, I'm partial to Street Fighter 2. That's the me on the come up. Seeing that game when it first came out and getting to play it and seeing all the lines at the corner store. There'll always be a place in my heart for it, right? But as far as like something that your significant other would be happy with, probably the Alpha.
Right. I'm curious. What about yourself, Steps? Which one would you buy?
So here's the thing. I remember reading Electronic Gaming Monthly as a kid. I was like my magazine.
Mhm.
And I didn't really have a history of playing in the arcade at the time, and I remember them like hyping up Street Fighter 2 World Warrior so much. It had this issue with like Ken on the front on Blanca stage.
Mhm.
And so when I went to Tennessee with my family, on a vacation, I remember going to the arcade and I hunted out for a World Warrior cabinet because I wanted to see it, I wanted to play it, and I remember that being that first arcade. I was really excited to play before I even got there. And so honestly, like I love the Alpha 2 look. I love that design. I think it's so awesome that finally there's going to
Yeah.
be something official with Alpha 2 with online other
Mhm.
than Fightcade. But for me, that World Warrior cabinet is the one.
I feel you.
Yeah. I'm with you on that. I think it's just got that vintage look, right? That nostalgic thing. And I love Alpha 1 and 2, but I think growing up playing Championship, the Hyper Edition, that's going to be the one that I'm probably going to get. Yeah, I'm definitely getting one. I don't care. Lag, no lag, whatever. I'm definitely buying one just to fit my collection.
Yeah, I spoke super objectively there, but like if I were to pick it, definitely it would be the Street Fighter 2 cab if I already didn't have an original example like that, for
I
sure.
do I do like the look of it. I like that they kept it pretty much true in the front, but kind of got a little bit. They kept it retro, but also went a little modern on the side art. I think it looks really good. Now, Michael B. the Game Genie, who probably doesn't play Street Fighter 2 nearly as much as any of you guys, he's like, it needs to make the picture of Ryu bigger and the text on the side smaller and all this stuff. And I'm like, I think it looks great as it is.
Yeah.
But
I mean, yeah,
Looks
having the
amazing.
logo that big on the side, like if they had kind of made it up top and then followed that through line from the marquee and have the Street Fighter 2 kind of wrap around that way and then have the Ryu centered, that would probably look pretty good. But it's like you always make design compromises. I'm sure there's probably a team of people that were like, hey, well,
Yeah.
what looks the best? So I'm sure that the people that buy this are going to be super happy with the way that looks. Like
Yeah. Somebody mentioned on the chat, one of the comments that this is not built for hardcore Street Fighter gamer. It's more of the sort of the average household Joe. I think I would
sure,
kind of agree with that, right?
yeah, hmm
And I think for the company to cater to that audience makes business sense because there's only a very small pool of like hardcore gamers, right? And they need to make money at the end of the day. However you look at it, this is a business. The return on investments needs to be there.
right, yeah. Have that they already have that built-in audience. The one thing I would like to see though, coming as an arcade tech and working in arcades and seeing kind of the barcade explosion happen and doing all of that, a lot of those arcades are pulling their original machines because of the upkeep on them. It's just too much. That's why a lot of them switch over to the pinball thing. They're easier to acquire and maintain, and they're usually in pretty good condition. They're still making new ones. So I would like, maybe it might not be feasible for this company too, but maybe in the future, have a company that makes the full sized deal that they could also market to arcades looking to replace their old and worn out cabinets as well.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think that'd be a good move.
now
Hmm.
you had said something earlier about the control deck art, Turbo.
Oh yeah, the bezel.
Oh, the bezel. Okay.
Yeah, yes. I don't know if you can zoom in there or not, but if you look at around the monitor there, the bezel with the players up top there. So you've
Mm-hmm.
got Blanca, Guile, E Honda, right along the very top. On the original marquee, it's not cut off like that. So I don't know if they had gone through with the original art and resized it or not, but that's not the way it's supposed to look.
Hmm.
Um, I don't know if you can zoom me in,
Zoom
but
in.
actually, over on me rather, pull me up on the screen because I actually
Oh,
put on my original bezel so you guys can kind of see what that looks
there you
like.
go.
So you see how it's like not cut off up here, right?
Hmm.
That might just be a minor overstep. Hopefully they can correct that, or if they happen to see this, be like, oh yeah. So
Yeah. I mean, overall, it's a beautiful cab. I mean, aesthetically, color, and everything, And I'm
Yeah,
curious
the
how heavy it
yellow
is.
T molding on it, man. Like uh, anytime that I work on a Street Fighter 2 machine, I've done several of them. Like the yellow T molding always hits hard.
I like the yellow T molding on the World Warrior. I've seen it on like some hyper fightings, which is
Hey,
kind of.
Steph, sorry. I think like Gnostic is trying to get into the chat. Do you see like
Oh,
something to hit
oh yeah,
accept?
yeah, yeah. I get him back in because he's on the bottom. I don't see it because I'll scroll down and get him.
Yeah. Looks
All
like
right.
DJ dialed in, blood type. Thank you guys for dialing in and supporting the show. And keep the comments coming. Any questions you have, love to discuss on this show.
I want to go back on the price. Like Jeff said, it's very fair. Like the cabinet I have now, I actually bought extended risers because I'm a little taller, so that cost me another 150. So let's say 400, 450 plus 150, 600. It's pretty fair. And this new machine is considerably larger. It's taller, it's wider, it's deeper. So considering all the parts that are going into it, even though it's not expensive wood, it is larger and it does take more footprint in your space.
I mean, it's still half-inch wood. Like the original cabinets are 3/4 inch MDF all around. So like I saw the stream where the guy was just like ripping on him about that. I'm just like, well, it's really not that far off, And like they were like showing like how it was put together. I've torn apart a couple HS ones, and they look exactly like that. The way that they all kind of shoe in and all of that, like that's the way that they're manufactured. I don't have a problem with that at all. Like I think that if you're doing like a flat pack solution like they are here, that's just the way it is, right? The one thing I did want to kind of bring up, and I don't know how you guys feel. I'd like to get your opinion on it, but do you feel that with it being 9/10 the size, that it'll present problems for taller people? I can just see somebody like trying to play the game and getting a face full of marquee when they're trying to look down, just because it's a little bit shorter. And the way that
Ganassi can tell you he's 6'2", right? What is he, 6'2", 6'3"? I mean, he's a tall dude right there.
So
so
if
how
you
do
look
you
at mine,
it?
Hold on, let me move this over.
They say size doesn't matter, so we're talking about it right now.
I move my cab very easily, right? So which is one of the main complaints. So I put on anti-slip. I don't know if you can see that on the bottom, so it doesn't move. I bought extended riser, 5 inches. I think it was like $100-something just for this little piece of wood around it. And with this riser playing all the way up here, look, I'm 6'2", so look at my height.
Jesus,
so
that's a
I'm
tall
okay.
ass cab.
Yeah, so I'm okay. So it's not. It's
do you
not
actually
that
play?
bad.
Do you play standing or you play sitting? Because when you stand,
standing.
I mean that really
Standing.
on the one-up cab.
Yeah. So
interesting. Because majority of us play sitting, right? So we have that Street Fighter chair. We sit on it and we play that way. I mean, either way, it works out.
So. Yes. So, I wanted to get your opinion, Gnostic. Do you, which cabinet did you prefer? Because I think you were off the stream at that time.
The Alpha, the Street Fighter 2 one, even though it looks nice, it's too much of a World Warrior vibe for me. Even though that was one that started it, it's good, but it was so glitchy. It started even though it started the trend, I just didn't jive with that version. Hyper Fighting is the one I really jived with. So
that's
Alpha 2. I like the Alpha series. I actually won a small tournament back in the day on the PlayStation for Alpha 1. So I have a little love for Alpha, even though it plays pretty differently.
Yeah.
So the Alpha 2 one is I would definitely get.
Yeah, well, you also got the Hyper Fighting sitting there too. I have the big blue still with the Bobby Voo deck, and that thing, I can't get rid of that thing. But I have mine on a washer dolly. So what up? But I also had the washer dolly so I could wheel it over here when I did tournaments. Because I have it back there and I like wheel it over to my computer. So it kind of had a multi-purpose, But that was one thing that I thought was really cool about the new Iconic Arcade is that at least you don't have to get a geek worm and hook up this board to that
Oh,
board
yeah.
and then separately route the audio and then have like a separate audio program to monitor all the different audio
Right.
sources because you got a separate audio for the PCB. It's just weird.
See,
I
see,
think
convenience factor. Oh, sorry to cut you off. Continue. I apologize.
I was gonna say it looks like Too Soon Junior's trying to get in here, but he's got no devices connected, so I can't put him in. I don't know. It says no camera, no audio, nothing. So anyway, go ahead.
uh like you're saying, like all this setup, hooking up and everything like that, that's another advantage of these cab, because it's literally turn on and play, right? And DJ always uses the word like intuitive, right? Like the arcade is more intuitive. Now with the 5K, when you come on, it's like you have to challenge somebody, you have to move the mouse, you can type on the keyboard and everything. This is literally like turn on and play, and I love that convenience factor, like as an
Right.
addict, you want to just like turn on, select the room, and just get on.
And you're not distracted either, right? It's like if you're running 5K, there's always the temptation to scroll social media or
Right.
find something else to do while you're waiting in match, So
Notifications.
I get that, yeah.
Yeah. So it's just different, and we get that, we have that debate all the time. Even this morning when I posted that video, somebody said, because I said I hope it plays similar or close to 5K. Somebody says, why don't you just play on 5K? It's free. I'm like, there you go. That could be its own discussion, but it's different,
Right,
man.
but
There's
you're
other
still
values
not
that bring to it.
you're still not supporting Capcom by providing them royalties, and it kind of bites us in the butt in the future because they're
Not too
looking at
soon.
the interest for it, right? And
What's up,
if
guys?
like everybody's trying to get on the free tip, they're going to see it as not a moneymaker, and they won't do provisions for future anniversary editions or collections, and that really
Yeah.
hurts us.
What's up, Too Soon?
What's going on?
Hey,
So-
what could you tell us about your Street Fighter playing, your main, and like what you do, all that kind of stuff. Fill the
Honest-
people in.
Honestly, I saw this new cab. Gnostic put it up the other day, and we saw it, and I kind of wondered if it would be just like another gimmick, since it seems so much like one up, and this is going to be a lobby. It's another place for people to get into, and the price point. We're wondering, are the people, Jeff was saying this too. Are the Fightcade people going to want to shell out, the $699 to get, some, arcade action in their house? Or are they just going to stick with their PC and their little LCD panel and their fight stick to play Fightcade? I mean, the main thing here, I think that everybody needs to take away from this is the emulation going to be like or as close to Fightcade? Because that's always been the problem with One Up. Everybody's been saying, hey, is it going to be as good? And that's everything I've seen on all the comments for everything is emulation it's not going to be there. Is it going to be there? And honestly, maybe it's just too soon to tell. I don't know. I mean, it's supposed to launch in June, right? So do we wait? Do we do we put the deposit down now and just go for it? I don't know. That's my thought.
I think we just need I'm hoping maybe by March we get a better update on maybe near the final build. Then we can actually see if people show gameplay. We can tell
Right.
at a pretty good rate of what how it feels, on the input lag, But obviously you got to feel it yourself to get the full experience, I have hope. I seriously have hope that John is freed from the arcade one-up limitations, and he has more control over the process. And here's another thing too. I don't know why John gets a lot of hate. I mean, I kind of see why, but without him, realistically, there would have been no Street Fighter 2 Arcade 1-Up. There would have been most of us would not have met. Most of us would have not be on the Discord channel for Hyper Fighting for Fightcade. Most of us would not have met each other. So I would lead this back to John, to him getting the license, being former Capcom, to build this up. Is he a perfect person? No. None of us are. But has he messed up? Yeah. But he's come a long way, and he got a little emotional the other day, talking on the stream, and I could see the pressure that he probably feels from this. If to put it in perspective, if you were, if everything you said was scrutinized, and you had to talk professionally and corporately, no one would pass. you would get
Yeah.
criticized. So to be
Right.
realistic, people have to take that into account. And I hear people making comments, oh, they should put in a Sanwa stick, they should put in this.
Now
I
the
don't
price
think
will be like
any.
$8.99.
That's what
Yeah,
I'm
your
saying.
price just went up.
Yeah, none of us have, even though they say, oh, if they only added a $2 this, a $3 that, we have no experience. I don't in running a production line, having
Right.
multiple vendors, shipping parts from China, having
Yeah,
developers. It's a big process.
I think you hit it there. Is that like
Yeah.
even to put parts in Sanwa, I'm sure that they would love to do it, and the cost differential really probably wouldn't be that much if you're buying in bulk, but it's that transit. It's like getting all of that manufactured and then
Licensing.
brought over here. Like if you look at websites like Arcade Shock and Paradise Arcade, when they buy their orders for their parts, they get them crated in, and it's 6 months apart that they do this stuff, right? So that's why, like, you'll see, like, you'll be out of red buttons for your Sanwa parts, and then you have to wait another like 6 months in order for them to restock, because they have to buy it all in bulk all at once, and it takes a while for those things to restock. Like these button manufacturers, they're not very large. You think of a company like, say, Mitsu. They're only run by the whole company itself that makes all of these joysticks and buttons. It's only 12 people, bro. Sanwa's
Mhm.
probably maybe triple that. There's maybe 100 people that work over at Sanwa. That's it. So,
Yeah.
like to get large scale manufacturing over from China or somewhere else that can do that, then yeah, it's all
Yeah.
about your logistics and supply and demand. So I get why they do what they do.
Like this morning, that video that I posted, I think those two individuals, Steps, you know them, right? I forgot their name. They were extremely
Rexer.
critical.
The Rexer
Rexer,
Show
right?
and Kev
Yeah.
Grit.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, props to them for being as real or as critical as they are. But I just thought it was a little bit like early to kind of stop bashing the machine, right? We've not seen it yet. I think Media One Up have invested a lot of time, efforts to try to bring this home arcade to the community. So I want to give it a fair shake for them to like launch it, see it, play it myself before I really comment on it. So I took that video down. I thought it was a little bit preliminary on that.
Well, what do you guys think about this? Do you think that if they shipped it as they are with all of the components that they have, it maybe set up a side store for upgrades? Would that be something you guys would be interested in?
Like more games?
No, like
No,
like
parts,
say
right?
like yeah, like
Oh,
joysticks
parts.
and buttons, like kind of make it a little bit more bespoke and customizable, and lean into that marketing as well.
Well, what's great is like there's so many different companies that you could do that from, though. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? As long as they make it friendly to mod, that's what's important, I think, right? Because everybody has their preferences. They definitely do, man. I like HAP competition buttons with cherry micro switches. That's my preferred. I like them to be convex. Not everybody likes that. So, am I going to change the buttons regardless? Probably. But that doesn't.
Yeah.
I'm not going to excuse them for using cheaper sticks and buttons, though. I'm just telling you my thoughts on it.
Mhm.
The things you cannot change are the performance of the machine.
Correct.
That's what's if you have the cabinet that wobbles, you can always put a sandbag in there. You can always get more sticks and buttons, but you can't fix what the brain is doing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, you should, it's just like working on a car. You should make sure that your engine's working before you do the paint and detail, right?
Correct. That's a great
Honestly,
point.
I'm curious, and if you guys have thought about this yet, but it seemed like a big problem that we were having with One Up is customer support in general. I mean, are they just going to make these and just leave everybody hanging, or are they going to take advice from people that are playing the cabinets, trying to modify them and make them better, adding different options, adding a voice chat or something to keep it going, or is it once it's built, that's it? I mean, anybody can change, like we're saying, anybody can change their buttons and their sticks out. That's fine. That's easy modified. But are you going to be able to input our feedback from a player standpoint for the company to be like, hey, you know what? That's a good idea. Let's do this. Let's do that. Or One Up left everybody hanging.
Well, I think in the last stream, John did mention the lobbies, friends list, and
Okay.
one more thing. So I think they're trying to incorporate that. He did mention the voice chat is if I recall, a problem. with the way it would work. I don't know the specifics, but he did mention that they were looking at that, but it was problematic, so it was not going to be included. He would probably have to answer for that because that's a very technical question. Going through their whatever interface they have, and then RetroPie, and then using VC systems they have.
Mm-hmm.
But it seems like at least some things are being added. It's not going to be the same. Just ranked mode only, like 1UP. The arcade 1UP.
That was one thing that I really did enjoy about the arcade 1UP, though, was the simplicity of like the lobby. You just go in there and you pop in a game, and then you don't really think about it. Is this lobby? Is this room open? Is this room not? And it was so simple. So I think adding things like friends list, things like that, are all cool and all.
Yeah.
But like the interface, honestly, on arcade 1UP is a lot more fun to me than going on the PlayStation, for example. The PlayStation, you gotta get in a group, and there's only 4 people. Then you gotta wait your turn, and it's compared to this, where you just like hop into another game.
Yeah, I think simplicity is so key. Turn on and play, right? You don't even need to connect Wi-Fi. You don't have to look at you turn on, and then you can see how many people are playing, and you just join the room, and then you play. And the sticks and things can be modded, so it give you that arcade feel, like you're back in the 90s and stuff. I mean, that's priceless. I remember the first time my wife bought me that Big Blue machine. I know, as much as we trash it today, man, I was excited. The first time I played, my hand was like shaking. I haven't played Street Fighter in like 20 years, and I finally get to play somebody online. So I'm like, man, this is legit. Then I got Gnostic buying it, and then he's all hooked into it, and gave me a great opportunity to connect with all the top players and who became my friends today. So I mean, there's a lot of value behind it.
What's really
John,
great,
where's my 10%? Just kidding.
What's really great about this community, though, is like no matter what level you're at, you can come talk to people, and they'll tell you, hey, why don't you try this, or why don't you practice? Where they'll talk to you, they'll be friends with you, they'll give you advice, and it's a really awesome community, and that's why it was so important when I saw this announcement was finally official. I was like, man, we got to do a stream with people so we could talk about what's important and what really matters on this cabinet, because I really care about the Street Fighter 2 community. It's been a really good community.
It has.
Yeah, I think we're all looking for the same thing. Is just outside of the game is being able to connect with like-minded people and the spirit of fair play and competitiveness. But like in order to do that, making it as authentic as possible to draw more people in is also equally important too, because like if somebody has this nostalgia for the game and they make their purchasing decision based off of that, and then they get in and it's not quite what they remembered, that could turn off somebody wanting to maybe get into the community a bit more, and just kind of realizing, maybe this is not me. It's like you want to try and draw people into the deep end, right? But in order to do that, you have to get their toe wet first.
It's funny because my son's friend, like his father came over once, his dad came over once, so he saw the cab. Every person has a memory of playing Street Fighter, right? Pretty much. So he said, "Oh, let's play." So we played, and afterwards he was like, "Oh, how much is that?" And he bought one. He doesn't play much, but just the fact that the older crowd sees that and they try a little bit, just that reliving that little nostalgia that they can recall, they're willing to purchase it.
Right.
They don't play it, but they'll have it there. Oh, look at that! Look at what I have in the corner. So that's a big deal. That's where the money is.
Exactly, for a fraction of the cost again.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Man, this is exciting stuff.
The one thing I would say though, if I think someone did mention in the earlier comments that it will not match FightK netcode. It will not surpass it. I don't think the point is to surpass it, because once you surpass the FightK netcode, if both people are wired and local to each other, but if you can get close to that, then that's a big deal. You don't have to surpass it. If you get close to it, let's just say you're very close to what FightK offers. That's a big seller right there. All the 1UP players that that we're in communication with, pretty much 90% will move over immediately.
Yeah.
So we're hoping for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say 100% of the issue all the time is dealing with the fact that it's so much easier. Like we were all saying, it's so easy to just get on one up and just turn it on. So the simplicity factor is just amazing. And but having it at a point where I still think the price point is going to have to we're going to have to see what it's really capable of and see how close it is to Fightcade, because that's been the trash talk of the century as far as Street Fighter 2 is concerned, is Fightcade people talking smack about the one up because it's the emulation's trash, there's lag, blah blah blah. So I mean, I guess we're just gonna have to wait to see how good it is once, when they do some more finalizing of the cabinet, and then go from there.
I can let you
Yeah.
in on a little secret too soon. Compared to offline, like Fightcade is still kind of trash. Like
Yeah, of
it's
course.
all like incremental. So like you
Yeah.
can't really compare apples to oranges. Like I think that a lot of the trash talking from the Fightcade guys is just it doesn't come from a place of jest. It's just like knowing that there's a community of people out there, and just wanting them to have the best possible experience. I think that that's kind of the heart of where a lot of that comes from. A lot of us are very blunt in the way that we speak, but I don't think that we truly want it to come out that way. I think we're just kind of kid brothering, so to speak.
Right.
Yeah, that is something you have to get used to, the tone of talk of certain people. Once you go on Discord or wherever else. But the comparisons will never end. Even if you go offline, someone can complain about the sticks offline,
Yeah.
the buttons
You
offline.
can't make anybody happy.
Yeah, it
Everybody.
doesn't feel
Yeah,
right.
it's just the reality.
The hertz is wrong. Something's off. It can never be 100%. But
Yeah.
if
Why
people-
gotta be
people
Ryu
having
on it?
fun-
Why can't it be Ken?
Yeah.
We go all day,
Yeah, there's no winning in that. I think the biggest thing is meeting new people, getting a player base around it. Having competitions that people want to watch, and like I mentioned before the stream, the biggest thing is 80% of the people buying it are from nostalgia. I would say the 20% that are high level players or good players, those 80% will want to watch if they have competitions. Oh wow, this guy can do this combo, this CPS one combo. Let me go Google that. What is that? Oh, this is this. So that'll increase everyone's knowledge and gain interest in just people watching the high level matches.
Right, and to your point, there's not that culture of like, I'm sure you guys have experienced it when you switched over to Fightcade, just like, oh man, this is like too hardcore. Like there's like no variance in between of like skill set. It's like they're all killers there, and
Yeah.
it's going to take a while for you to get proficient, because that's one thing that they do. And like having a community of more casual oriented people, or having a good gradient of player base and experience is also super important. And it's something that I'll always laud the Arcade 1UP community of having, because it's like you guys will play whoever, as long as that's a thing. I think that's great. Fightcade, there is a tendency for certain players to be cliquey and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's, different pool of players. Barriers of entry is a lot easier on Fightcade. So they have players from South America, North America, a larger pool. It's free. You buy a joystick, you can play. Sure. With this audience, you have to commit to that $500, $700 before you can play. And again, goes back to the conversation of like, hey, why would I pay $500-$700 to play Street Fighter? I'm just saying it's not just Street Fighter. It's more than that. It's the nostalgic feeling, owning an arcade at home, having a nice decal where cousin comes over and be like, cool, like, what is that? Can we turn on? Can we play? I think there's a lot of value that brings on the other side of it that other people are not seeing. That's why it's very hard to cater to all the audience, I feel.
Yeah. You're a puppy. Anyway. Man, that you asked me which design I liked earlier, and it is a tough call, because both of them, at least visually, I thought looked nice. I really liked both of them as far as how they were.
I wouldn't be surprised if there was some kind of store or purchase system within the cab, because thinking as a business, you do want this to be monetized in some way, to going forward, not just sell a cab and that's it.
Yeah.
as long as we get the base game and online play, and they add certain things there you could pay for, that's a smart decision. I think it'll make the cab better, but I think most people are against, oh, I don't want to pay anything extra. But as long as we get the base games and we can play online, and they add extra stuff if you want to pay for it, so they can make money on the extra money, that would be a good idea. I'm pretty sure they're probably thinking about that already. That's the way forward. Even for all the games nowadays, it's these live games that that make millions of dollars. It's the way moving forward to make more money in the long run.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see what titles they're willing to come out with, because I would assume that if they legally, if they were going to release more titles, that on that particular cab, it could only be Capcom titles.
Yeah.
It can't be like Tekken or anything, because they'll probably have a separate Tekken cab or something like that if they make future cabinets,
Yeah.
Which I'm assuming they will.
Capcom has a big library. They're all legendary games. So if they do it right, it's I own every Capcom Stadium 1 and 2. I have all their legacy games, the Mega Man Legacy. So all their games, for me, it's nostalgia. Capcom is #1 for me.
Right. Now, do they do? This is a question for you guys. I genuinely don't know. Do they do firmware updates on like the Arcade 1-Up and that kind of thing to like do patches for the online netcode, or is it just kind of like that's just what it is out of the box?
Minimal. There have been
Yeah.
1 or 2, if I recall, but they were not big updates. Someone from the Discord did make a patch to make the input lag a little bit better, which I did run, and then it did make it a little bit better.
Right.
So I can imagine the Pi community having more people improving it, which is what John D mentioned in the last stream. And going forward, like every little thing that people point out, hey, this could be better, someone will work on that.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a good thing.
Do any of the guests have a YouTube channel?
Turbo.
Turbo.
He has a lot of Turbo has a lot of cool retro stuff. He has a lot of physical VHS tapes that he converted over to 4K.
Mhm.
A lot of Tomo Ohira footage. So he has a cool channel. You should definitely check that out.
What's your channel called?
It's called SLB Video Archive. So it is just the raw data of a lot of old Japanese strategy videos for your favorite fighting games, or even not your favorite fighting games. Like it goes to Nintendo. I've got some American tapes there too that do the old Nintendo Contra codes and all of that. And they're really kind of a trip to watch. I pride myself in trying to give the community or the retro community at large a good base to have media where hopefully they'd be able to use that in their own videos too. So if you see something you like and you want to do a video essay on it, then you've got my blessing to download it.
Awesome.
And
guys...
me and Knock run the Facebook page. It's a Street Fighter 2 live stream. Arcade 1-Up and Fightcade. We're gonna change that soon. Media 1-Up and add it on there. But Street Fighter 2 live stream, Arcade 1-Up and Fightcade.
Yep, I'm in
so
there.
we stream we stream a lot of live matches, and we get the community involved and everything. So try to tune in and love to have more people.
We have a lot of members there. We have John Choi, Eggs and Bacon, John D just joined recently.
Yep.
So we have a lot of people in there. DJ Ilk is in there, so we promote everyone's matches. If there's tournaments, we put the information in there. Winners, we put the information in there. So it's a good page.
Yeah.
It is. That's where I got a hold of all you guys, obviously. And anytime I ran a tournament with the Arcade 1-Up, I posted it. I think whatever it was before, it is now. Yeah, for sure. And So, do any of you guys have any other final thoughts you want to say about this new Media 1-Up cabinet?
Just hope it's good. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, I think that it'll actually turn out to be pretty good for the price point. I think that it's an attractive package. It offers basically everything that somebody looking to get something like that, but doesn't want to hunt down Craigslist ads and all that BS to find a real cab and have it still like be in like nice condition when you get it, not have to fix it up, is a very attractive thing and very good. to have
Yeah.
around.
That deck looks wider than the arcade one up for sure, so that's good. Because
23 inches compared
Yeah,
to
Yeah, I was going to say it
19
has
and
to be a
half.
little bit
Yeah.
because the screen's a 19-inch screen, so I was going to say it
Yeah,
has to be a little bit wider.
Yeah.
The
See,
original.
right there, the price point have to be upped a little bit, right, compared to what One Up was charging. So right there, even just the size of it, the screen of it, the control panel of it. So I actually feel pretty optimistic. I'm super pumped and can't wait to try one in person. And I love what John D is doing, bringing the community together. Without the whole One Up of this thing, I wouldn't have met all you cool folks before, So
and look, there's USB ports so that Tira Dukin can plug in his controller.
yeah,
That's a big deal. That's
you
a
charge
big
your
deal.
phone right there,
That's a big deal, though.
Yeah.
Also, yeah, the coin door too. That's
It's lit.
that's super dope. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's where the money's going.
It's gonna light up, and I know the guy. I bought coin doors from the guy that helped design them for Media One Up, Retro 530. They're nice, for replica coin door anyway.
Now, did those like, if you press them, does it load a credit in? Is it like something like that? Do you know?
That would be cool if they did, but the arcade One Up didn't do it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think that'll raise the price another $50.
We don't want that, man.
Yeah, and then people are gonna complain.
Listen, there's a saying that good is not cheap and cheap is not good, and a cheap man buys twice.
Yeah, you get what you pay for.
Yep.
Yeah, there's a close up right now of the
nice.
faux coin door.
Yeah.
There's the bottom of the control deck on the World Warrior. I definitely like that World Warrior art.
Yeah.
And if they did go with the slant panel, like the traditional type, they wouldn't have been able to put that logo there either. It kind of would have just wrapped weird.
There's the volume knob and everything. That's so small. I really didn't catch it in the videos. These are
at least it's an actual knob now and not like that little clicker like
like an actual potentiometer, right?
Yeah.
Clicker sucks.
Oh, you know what?
It does.
Those buttons do look like Sanwa. Obviously, they're clones. But
you know what would be cool as a feature, if they would make it like Bluetooth connectivity, so that you can run it also as like a jukebox, right? So like if you're like just like say if like you have it in your games room and you just want to like link up your phone to a speaker right quick.
Yeah.
It's already there, right? That would be cool. I do that in my cabinets. Like all my cabinets, they have their modified sound systems so that I can just link up to them and play whatever I want to.
Did you add a sub to it, Turbo?
I did.
You did?
Yeah, I've got a sub, and then in my Neo Geo, I've got they're called like butt kickers. They're not speakers, but they're haptic feedbacks, and it works really well on the if you put it under the control panel if you press a button and then it hits somebody, it's like you get that like
vibration
Sega activator type of thing. Yeah. Yep.
I'll say though with the sub, because I just got a little sub for Fightcade. The DPs sound scary.
Oh man, yeah.
On impact.
The sound effects are so legit in the CPS1 games for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, those buttons definitely look better than 1-Up's buttons. So
but I'm going to swap them out anyway.
Well, yeah, of course. But they definitely look better. I don't know, maybe people could complain a little bit less.
Well, if you think about it, video game community is kind of like the car community. Nobody buys a car that's supposed to be modified and just leaves it stock. They're going to modify it, put their own wheels on it. It's kind of the same thing in this arcade community. People like to tinker with it and modify it, change the speakers out, do all sorts of stuff. So the fact that they're creating this with the ability, what it looks like to be able to do that very easily, that's another positive, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's a close up of that bottom of that side art. That actually looks pretty sexy.
That's a nice Ryu picture.
Cool.
Yeah.
Anyways, guys, I gotta jump, so you guys continue the conversation. But thanks for having me on.
Thanks for coming on. I appreciate that. We're gonna finish up, so thank you. Appreciate you showing up, Knock. Definitely.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
All right, well-
Awesome. You guys enjoy weekend.
See you, bro.
Have a
All
great
right,
one.
see you, brother.
Have a
Laters.
great one. I just thought it'd be cool to look through those pictures real quick, so that's what I did.
I missed the chat earlier, but you guys talk about the potential spot where they had the power button. Are they going to move that?
They're gonna
I
move
hope
that.
I hope they
They-
do.
Like
Also,
the
you don't
top of the
actually
cabinet
hit
would
it.
be great.
Right. Yeah.
I was reading in the on Reddit, people were discussing that, and it was mentioned they're going to remove that. It's still too early, you know. But they're just giving an idea of what the look would be.
Right.
But 6 months is not far away. It's kind of
Yeah.
close, you know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
your lead time to be able to make those changes has got to be pretty quick, probably within the
Yeah,
next month
yeah.
or two.
Yeah.
Are they going to be giving steady updates? Is John D? Did he mention the fact that they're going to be staying on top of this and keeping everybody posted? And
I think they're gonna keep doing those one-up shows, those media
Okay.
one-up shows.
Because I
But
know
they're not gonna be on Justin Wong's channel. It sounded like it's gonna be a media
Right.
one-ups channel.
Well, I do recall Jay Wong saying that that's his first media one-up stream. I don't know if it's his channel or someone, or media one-up's channel, but he mentioned that's the first one. So I don't know if there's a sequence, weekly
Yeah.
or bi-weekly.
He said at the end of that show, I thought he said that he wasn't gonna be there for all of them, but maybe who knows? We'll
Yeah.
find out.
We'll see.
We'll find.
It's still
Sounds
early.
like
We
there's
just-
gonna be more though.
Yeah. This news just came out a few days ago, so we're still in the very, very early phases.
Yep. All right. Anybody got
Right.
anything else?
No, just
No.
join the Facebook group, Street Fighter 2 live streams, Arcade 1-Up, and Fightcade. And Turbo, mention your channel again, because it's pretty cool. Yeah.
Yeah, SLB
It is.
Video Archive. So that's the channel there.
Awesome. Thank you, Turbo, for being here. Thank you, Gnostic, and thank you, Too Soon Jr.
Okay.
Absolutely been a pleasure. Hopefully they watch and get some ideas. There's a couple things we talked about that were important, so hopefully they can get that takeaway and we can make a difference. I'm going
Right.
to.
All right.
All right.
See you guys.
See you later. I'm going to end the end drone.